Yeah, I had a dog named Frank Sinatra, and Marshall is named after Eminem.
Oh man, well they're two incredible people. Don't get me started on Frank Sinatra because how long is this, by the way?
As long as we want to go.
Well, no, because
Why?
well, just Frank Sinatra. If there's two questions, one of them shouldn't be Frank Sinatra because I can go on and on and on. I learned so much from him, and I got to know him. And as bizarre as that sounds, he's such a name dropper, Frank. But I did, and probably if you're interested in singing, I could tell you one miracle that I learned from Frank Sinatra, which is a version of My Way. And the original version, it's a boast. And years later he sang it, and I have a copy of it. It's and Pavarotti stars in the film, as you know. I play him for a moment, but it's a version of My Way with. Pavarotti is the greatest singer on earth, but shouldn't sing in English. Friends, I do it now. You don't want that. And so I have a version of it without the greatest singer in the history of the world, Pavarotti, on it. It's just Frank singing 20 years after he'd sung My Way as a boast. Same key, same text, same arrangement. And now it's an apology.
Wow.
And that's a thing about singing. And Johnny Cash had that. And, I wish I aspired to the place when my voice, to try and answer your first question, when I become a singer that can do that.
Sinatra, most people don't realize, had a completely different voice when he was younger. Mm-hmm. His voice when he was younger was very high-pitched and beautiful. It had so much flexibility to it and so much tone. And then probably all the cigarettes and Jack Daniels over the years sort of hardened his voice.
And then skinny kid. He used to swim underwater to get his lung expanded so he could get those bigger
really?
notes. Yeah.
And we have his mugshot out there. He got arrested. He was like 125 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he got arrested for, what was the term? Seduction? I think it was seduction. I think he seduced a married woman. Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, look at that. Well, he said, he said, you're the only, I don't know if he said cat. He said, certainly didn't say dude. He said, you're the only something who wears an earring that I'm ever going to like. You're the only cat with an earring that I'm never going to... And I did. I had if we're going to talk about singers, you have to talk about Sinatra. I had extraordinary times with him. He used to send me gifts every year. I have a gold and sapphire Cartier watch he sent me.
Oh, wow.
With Francis Albert on the, just every year he would send stuff. And because we did a duet together on his first duets album, I've Got You Under My Skin. Although we had our management received, I hope this is not, I'm in awe of Japan, so please don't take this as a cruel joke, but we did get it from it was a fax back then from Nippon EMI saying, we hear that Bono has done a duet with a Mr. Frank Sinatra called I've Got You Under My Chicken. And that's just the great surrealist anthem of all time. But yeah, for me, that was an unusual relationship. And if I ask myself why I would go after these great singers that perhaps people of my own generation had moved on from, but I hadn't, there was a part of me that wanted the blessing of the older generation and probably the male. I didn't really, by now, the bit of age, I realized I didn't have the sense to go after the same with women, but I was looking for my father in them, whether it was Willie Nelson whether, Bob Dylan, Frank Sinatra, Pavarotti, all these people. I mean, I became their students, really. And the band would be like, yeah. And I'm going, yeah. And there's so much for me to learn from these people, so much for all of us to learn. These are extraordinary for a reason. Sinatra had, incredible sense of humor and great timing. What I learned from him was he read the text of the song like an actor. So he would learn it as an actor would learn a part. Then he would, on the piano, he'd kind of roughly, with his, pianist, he'd figure out where to be in the bar and all of that. And then when he went into the orchestra to meet them, Nelson Riddle or whatever, you actually hear him. You hear Frank Sinatra hearing the song in its full arrangement for the first time as he's singing it. Ah. And it's fresh paint. It's like any painter will tell you. That's just it's like Francis Bacon. It's just that first stroke or first touch football. The great players where the ball lands at their feet, they don't stop it and pass it. They pass it as they stop it. It's really a very high level of artistry, and he had that. I learned that from him. I learned lots of other things. I also tried to drink with him on a few occasions, which did not work out well for me.